Art of a higher form.
I was going to say kapow, but I won't now.
It's not as hard as you going, what did I write about last year when I wrote this?
Welcome to another fabulous edition of the Neutral Cider Hotel. My name is Gabe Cook, and coming up today on the show, we will be speaking to the newly crowned Beer Writer of the Year, Lily Waite, to hear her take on the wonderful world of cider. We'll also be tasting a triumvirate, and yes, I know that is my favourite word, my triumvirate of ciders from the spectacular Fine & Foster, a husband and wife cider making team from Devon in the UK, who are quite possibly the most disgustingly handsome, lovely, and talented people you will ever meet. Love them. We've got a game from Grant coming up, which, well, we don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be very exciting. The one thing we can be certain of is that Grant can't lose because he is the host. Sorry, Grant.
No, I'm very pleased about that. Very pleased about
that. But first of all, I'd like to give us at the Neutral Cider Hotel a bit of a pat on the back from, what we've managed to achieve so far with this podcast. It's no mean feat getting it out there. And a big thanks to all of you, the listeners. And, we've got some good stats to back up the fact that we are making our mark. We have had over 3,500 downloads so far. We've been, right up there on the most popular food and drink podcast in the UK. We've reached number 35 in Poland of the most popular food and drink podcast as well. And we're hitting the mark. Blah. But there's also been some fantastic, reviews. And please do rate and review on Spotify and on Apple podcasts. Two highlight reviews have been the line "Art of a Higher Form," which I mean. What? I'm not quite sure what they were listening to, but I do quite like it. And the other one that really stood out was great irreverent chat, well worth a listen, and that comes from Mr. J. Shahs. Yeah. And it just might be that his son is Mr. Martin Goodwin Shahs. Welcome, sir, onto the show tonight.
How you doing?
J. Shahs, big fan.
Am I a big fan of him, or is he a big fan of the show?
You tell me. Both, vice versa.
Indifferent. Yeah, no. So he's a good listener. So thanks.
Oh,
Dad.
Bless.
Thanks for
nice
joining
one.
in.
It's good to have the family listening in. Grant, good evening, sir. You're a little under the weather possibly this evening, so your dulcet border tones are even more rasping than usual.
Thanks for pointing that out, Gabe. Yeah. I am a little unwell. I blame my daughter. It's her fault. She went to nursery, picked someone up, so brought her in the house. So yeah, but I will endeavour to enthuse to 150% so that I'm my normal, unenthusiastic self.
I will endeavour to enthuse.
God, you can't even give me a break this week. I'm not well.
No rest for the wicked. I don't give a fuck.
No, fair enough.
And to finish off our awesome foursome, Mr. Producer Scott, hello, good evening. Thank you as ever for putting up with us. But I do believe that you've got some very important words to say.
Yes, it's time for my public apology. I need my public shaming here. We recently released our best of for 2020, and you guys mistakenly gave me the reins to do some pseudo hosting for that. And clearly, somehow, my brain was short wired, and every time I mentioned Ryan from the Caledonian Cider Company, I somehow referenced Ryan from the Caledonian Cider Factory. So I did it multiple times, and I can only imagine it's my American idealism, imagining his spider children upscaling the business in the future and making it into a true factory. So here's to you, Ryan.
I mean, It is very funny because his factory does amount to about 30 square feet, and I mean that quite literally. It is bijou, I think, is the technical term. A little snug,
Bijou.
a little.
He's got 48 members of staff, hasn't he? He's like a big assembly line up there as well. Like it's
It
pretty.
is.
It's
Of children and spiders.
it's
Those
the biggest
arachnids.
factory in Wales. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, Scott. I'm sure that your apology will be accepted by Ryan, or maybe not. In which case, then we'll have a war of words. Maybe you'll even create like a diss tune or something like that. It'd be amazing. Come on,
What about a great way to start 2021? Then have a huge grudge match
with a fight.
between
Yes.
Scottish cider maker and a dumb American.
An eighth of our listener fan base as well.
Hang on, he's not based in Poland. Oh dear. That's somebody else. Anyway, looking forward. I was, we've reviewed sort of how 2020 went and cider makers we enjoyed. I was going to throw it out to Grant and Martin and Scott as well as the sort of cider makers that they've got their eye on for the year ahead. And if we at this time in 2022. We can look back on this episode, a whole, other 50, can you believe it, another 52 episodes down the line, as to whether we were right or not, and whether those people did sort of shine forth. So is there anybody that you guys are sort of predicting are going to, not necessarily kind of new, but who are going to really kind of come back to the fore, or what do we think?
I know we talk about them all the time as favourites on here, but Little Pomona, I think, are with their increase of production, is probably going to be the year that we see that coming into play. So whether it's a case of more volume of the same releases or more releases that only their brains could really tell us that right now, but I'm excited to see what more they come up with and how they capitalize on the year that they've had, which I would suggest was an extremely successful one. So yeah, and also Norton Cider Company in Scotland, who will hopefully be releasing some cider this year. Don't really know much more about them, but I'm hoping that at the end of this we'll be like, oh yeah, good spot, Grant. Next year.
Interesting. All right.
Just congratulate himself.
I'm congratulating myself.
Yes.
From the future.
Grant, you've got your finger on the pulse. Thanks, Grant. No worries.
If not, we'll just edit it out.
That's the most enthusiastic you've been, Grant. Congratulating your future self.
I told you I was going to try.
I think, looking at it kind of like an arms race, I think you've got to go for the one with the biggest arms, and it'll be Wildling. I actually do want to try his cider. And to counter it, I think Wilding, some of the stuff that they've laid down last year, coming out this year, I think they've learned from the experiments of such a early start anyway, that it's going to be, you're not going to see more of it, but they're going to hone in on the bottling and the styles that they've sort of hit in the last year. So I'm dead excited for their output this year. And you got all the classics of the ones that we love on here. So not going to give any more love without receiving my first paycheck from some of them. So we'll wait and see.
I think that's absolutely fair. I'm going to chuck into the mix Newton Court, long-standing Herefordshire cider maker who maybe hasn't sort of quite received the same amount of love or appreciation or vocalization as Oliver's or Little Pomona or Ross and Waite, but that's not on account of not making great drinks. Paul's a really, really good cider maker. Maybe he just doesn't shout about it possibly as much as he could do. And he's undergone a rebrand, and I think there's going to be some new blends coming into the marketplace. So yeah, keep an eye out for Newton Court. The other one I was going to say is also got the word Newt in there because it's the Newt. And I know that that's not anybody new, but which is also in Newt. I'm going to stop saying that. Yeah, I know.
And my apple variety of the year will be the Newtown Pippin as well.
Oh, you
Which also has
bastard. Presenting, talking about making ciders in really exciting ways. So some of their releases last year, their Fine Cider, Fine Perry, their Rosé were really fantastic drinks, and there are a load more to come too. So let's see what happens as we go forward. Scott, anybody in the USA that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, I think Two Towns, which has been growing in popularity over the last couple of years and is becoming more wide known, at least on the West Coast. They've been doing some interesting things. When I see cider makers start to go from just kind of a couple of flavors that you find a lot in grocery stores and 6-packs to trying to do more upscale, here's our special 10th anniversary, here's our Keeving attempt, and here's some other things. I'm excited for the growth and potential of them to really dive into the market and have some more mainstream success. And then to follow your Newt exclaimers, there's a local brewery here in San Diego called Newtopia, and it's cider with a Y, so you know it's delicious. But I found them a while ago, and I only saw them in 1 or 2 places. And just in the last 6 months, I've noticed they've really upscaled their distribution, and they're often sold out of the places I normally go, and they're starting to get placed in grocery stores and things like that. So I think they are going to have a really good year in 2021.
Scott, I just need to do this 1 second. Hang on. The reason why the Horse of Knowledge has made an appearance possibly for the first time this year, I can't remember, it's all going so fast, is of course that you don't make cider in a brewery, because you don't brew cider, you make cider. Brewing is something very particular to the creation of beer. It involves a lot of heat and boiling things and these kind of things. You make cider like you make wine, and technically I suppose you would call it a cidery. That's what they call them in places where there are wineries, and the term cidery kind of makes sense. The word cider mill tends to be used over in the UK, but I always find that
factory in the US.
Factory. Giant bludgeoning, churning wheels of choking, belching industry. That's sorry.
I was going to hold off and make him apologize next week.
Yeah, well, I will. That's fine. That could just be a weekly feature.
It could be a weekly feature.
America, apologize for something.
Apologizes.
Bravo. So yeah, apparently, if you want to make it big in cider in 2021, just make sure you have the words "new" in the title of your business, and you'll be set fair. Martin, what else? Now that we're into January, what's special about January?
The thing about January is dry January, and I know it's going to be a weird one for a lot of people this year. And all I would say is, if someone is doing it or isn't doing it, if they don't want to drink, and if you ask them if they want to drink, you don't follow it up with why. You don't need an explanation on why people aren't drinking. So let's just cut that out fucking now. That's all I wanted to say.
Well said.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, that should go for any time of the year, really.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, just it's prevalent now because people go, "Oh, so you must be doing that." It's like, just leave them not.
It is ridiculous, obviously, that you've even had to raise it, Martin, and well done. But it just that anybody should question or to judge is just let people live, do their thing. Absolutely. And so, yeah, it is going to be, this year, this January is different it'll be interesting, come the end of it, whether more people decided to take a break or fewer people, because the pace of life and the way that people are consuming their drinks has obviously changed drastically. The opportunities to do that socially down the pub are, if not entirely disappeared, then quite altered. So, yeah, maybe people won't be doing that so much. I don't know. We shall see come later on. So there we go. Right. So that's our little chat done. So now let's move on to a little bit of news. And so the news here at Neutral Cider Hotel, it's quite brief actually this week. I don't know, maybe a festive period and all that, and everyone's just been consuming cider rather than actually making any news about it. But there was, in the UK, the airing of a TV show all about inside the Bulmers factory. Inside the Factory, in fact, is the name of the program, and it was following sort of the cider making process at the world's largest cider making facility in Hereford and their apple processing plant in Ledbury. And the host for anybody in the USA or even in the UK or anywhere else in the world who's not au fait with the host, his name is Greg Wallace. And he came to fame for co-hosting the UK MasterChef, and he's a really enthusiastic person. And he's like a kiddie playing with toys with these giant with the apple mills and with the canning lines running at 100,000 cans an hour and all that kind of stuff. And the best sort of Twitter response that I saw to the program was 2020 no longer shit. Now I've seen Greg Wallace shaking an apple tree.
I love the apples.
I love. Oh, he was a greengrocer, wasn't he? That was before he got into the TV. He has been sort of food and drink, and he is that sort of almost caricaturish kind of. All right, there, my lovely. I'm not sure where he's from, but
yeah, I was going to say he sounds proper
he's
London.
Turned into a pirate, actually. Then
yeah. I am a cider drinker. I am. That was like proper rounded,
and a Wurzel to boot. So he's from a broad geography.
What was the show called? Inside the Factory.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the horse will neigh, but you can't have cider made in a factory. It's got to be.
Well, no, hang on. Yeah, you can. As long as it's not the Caledonian Cider Factory, that is definitely not allowed, obviously. But I think it's fair to say that once cider production gets to a certain scale, and HP Bulmer of Hereford on Plough Lane, it is the world's largest cider making facility. Unfortunately, I think it'd be fair to call it a factory. One isn't able to go on any kind of public tour around there. But as somebody who had the fortune to work there for a number of years, I did have a good wander around the site, because you've got these amazing. There's all these great historical bits. There's the old train tracks. Back when Bulmers was a family-owned company, they bought a steam train called King George V, and they owned about a mile of railway line and used to entertain guests by just trundling up and down it, having lunch on the old Pullman's carriages, mate. Just as you do. And still there today is the world's largest alcoholic beverage container. It's called Strongbow in homage to their biggest brand. It doesn't hold cider today, but when it did, it was the world's largest alcoholic beverage container, and it held 1.63 million gallons. That's about 13 million pints or something like that. Quite a lot, 6 million litres or 7 million litres. It's like an oil tank. It's absolutely huge. So there is, regardless of what one's own personal opinion or otherwise is to the final liquid, it is a fascinating place to go and see what cider production on the largest of scales looks like.
Well, on Twitter, I didn't watch the show. I can't force Hannah to watch more things without cider. Like come off the podcast, honey, we're tuning in. So I left it, but I'll watch it when I'm like doing whatever. But the discourse online, it was interesting to see it become almost a question of gatekeeping, because you had some, and I think both sides are valid. You had some people that were questioning the juice content and the scalability, and like, when is it cider and when isn't it, and talking about full juice. And actually, Ryan from the Caledonian Cider Factory said about the price. Sort of the price point of £3 a pint, and if the juice is that, and the scale of per pound per juice. And then someone was saying, well, no, it's a scale of per pound per alcohol, and to diminish my drinking is kind of not everyone's going to appreciate drinking Oliver's cider and stuff like that. And I was like, I just really like that it could even be a discussion rather than like craft beer is a great example where when I started drinking it, it just was like, oh, well, big is bad. And you're like, yeah, easy. I can get on board with that. But with cider, it seems just weirdly more nuanced and simpler and not black and white, but just loads of the color green.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, okay. I don't know where I stand on it.
Many shades of green. It is, gosh, and maybe we'll save it for another time, another episodes. But it is complex. It isn't just so simple as, but maybe because of the nature of the way that you make the drink, and that it isn't composed of raw materials that you can purchase anywhere in the world to construct your drink, and you have real complete control and autonomy over exactly what it is you're going to make, how and where and when. That it is more complex, that it is based around just, a raw material that you either grow yourself or you directly source. That helps to impact on so many things. And in terms of the role and of these companies that are giant of scale and maybe lower of juice content, but in terms of the apples that they purchase and the rural economies that they support and the culture that is upheld, etc., it's just more complex. It's just more green, as Martin said. So go check it out. Inside the Factory. If you're in the UK, you'll be able to find it on iPlayer. I am sure. Go check it out for yourselves. So, as I said, slow news week, as we were in our festive slumber.
There was a TV show.
There was a TV show. Interspersed with watching, obviously, lots of James Bond. I watched
obviously James Bond.
Why obviously James Bond?
Is that not a festive tradition for you to watch lots of James Bond?
It's not any kind of tradition for me. Like,
we admittedly we discussed it. We said, like, I don't know about you guys, but Christmas felt like just one fucking day just disappeared. I didn't have a festive like period where I was like, oh, it's Christmassy. Watched a few things, but like we watched Elf last night, which is just great, but didn't really watch anything Christmassy. Watched Tenet, which is banging, but I would never have needed it at Christmas time. It just felt like we're just watching shit because we're at home, which is I've never had that with Christmas.
Nah, I know what you mean. We watched Soul.
Oh yeah, no, I did watch that. That was banging.
Which isn't Christmassy, but was out on Christmas Day. Absolutely incredible film. But yeah, sort of agree with you, Martin. Like it felt like we kind of had to force ourselves to watch things as well. It's like, oh, should we put this on to get ourselves in the mood? They're just constantly trying to get ourselves in the mood for this day, rather than normally it's we will just watch Elf and then Muppets Christmas Carol and then Home Alone, and but this time it was definitely like, oh, come on, let's get it on. We'll get ourselves psyched up. I mean, we kind of had the cold's been flying around in the house for a bit, so that was part of it. And our tree's a bit sad.
Yeah.
But you've also just moved house, so like having the whole like I guess Christmas like that is kind of like romance, isn't it? Where if you have to force it, it's not working. Like it just let's rekindle it.
Exactly like that. Yeah, but I'm sure everyone felt pretty similar this year.
I have a Charlie Brown tree, so there's no way yours was sadder than mine.
What's that?
Do you know?
You don't know what the Charlie Brown Christmas tree is?
Nope.
Well, we'll put it in the show notes.
Picture on our Instagram coming soon.
Well, there we go. Much mirth over the festive period, everybody. So why don't we excite things up a little bit with our interview for this week, and it's somebody that we are very much looking forward to speaking to. And so now it's time for our interview. This is somebody that we wanted to speak to basically since the show started, and so we're super stoked to have her on the show today. Martin, who are we speaking to?
So, checking into the hotel tonight, she's the founder of the Queer Brewing Project, providing visibility and community within the brewing world for LGBTQ plus people, whilst brewing some blinding drinks. She's a phenomenal freelance beer writer and photographer with work for Good Beer Hunting, Ferment and Pellicle, and is 2020's Beer Writer of the Year award winner. She's a visual artist, ceramicist, dog lover, and is probably well deserving of a rest after a hectic 2020. Checking into the hotel, it's Lily Waite.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, that was certainly an intro.
Yeah, no, I fucking. It takes ages to read them out when you're like me and you don't write them properly. I was like, oh my god, there's too much here. Well, first thing I wanted to ask, like, we were talking to Helen of Birim Collective the other day, and about how they made the leap from kind of waiting for social change to actually becoming that change. And I guess the question is, what was the jump like for you, sort of starting the Queer Brewing Project?
So it's interesting, sort of when I got into the beer industry in a sort of serious way, and by that I mean moving from sort of part-time work whilst I was at uni into a full-time job in beer. I quickly, or shortly afterwards, started blogging and sort of writing about beer. And from the start, I was talking about sort of LGBTQ representation and visibility and all of that within beer. So I don't know. It's an interesting question because I don't feel I was necessarily waiting for that social change. I was always there, just sort of like an angry little dog in the background, just sort of nattering on about it. I was probably doing myself a disservice somewhat. But I think, but long before the Queer Brewing Project sort of came about, I was an agitator to some degree. And then the Queer Brewing Project sort of came about after seeing a brilliant response to a beer I made with Manchester's Marble Brewery, Dinosaurs Will Die, which on the label it had the words queer and trans on it. And I saw a bunch of people from the LGBTQ community in beer sort of, it really resonated with them. And I saw that there was a need for just greater representation within beer itself, not just sort of from a commentator's perspective or something else, but I thought there's actually something here I could make beer and provide representation that way.
Well, one of the things that was wonderful, I was working in, I still work at the Good Measure, but we poured the Queer Royale, which was like the first brew. And just, I know it's a pun as well, but seeing people just react with the word queer printed big and having it there was just it was an eye-opener, seeing that it was just not commonplace, but bringing it to the Queer Royale. A
lot of people tripped up on that.
Yeah, it's hard, but and you brewed that with affinity, but it leans into it. How do you come up with those recipes and those plays? Do you discuss it first, or do you approach a brewer like, I've got this idea?
So I don't think I've really ever approached anyone with an idea sort of straight out of the box and sort of say, this is what I want to do, let's do it together. I try to ensure it's a collaboration to the sort of nth degree. But there's sort of two ways I look at brewing under the banner of queer brewing. And one which is to make things that are really, really accessible, so anyone can walk into whatever venue. Remember drinking in venues?
Yes. Those halcyon days.
Those halcyon days. So anyone can walk in off the street and pick up the beer, and whether it's in a can or they can see the name Queer Brewing or whatever, they can kind of get an idea of what it is that I want to do and what the beer's about. And then the second way is to make beers that I guess you, at any sort of beer level, will see on a tap list and go, fuck me, I want to drink that. Like it's something so it's special and sort of interesting. So I guess queer, not care right now. You've tripped me up already.
Yes, I'll take responsibility for that. Fuck,
you named it. Come on.
I think Queer Royale is a really good example of the first sort of way of thinking. Like, it was fruity. It was a super summery beer. It was, I think, 4.5%, like just really easy drinking. And then Flavor Town, which is a vaguely Guy Fieri themed imperial porter, brewed with Salt Beer Factory in Saltaire in Yorkshire. That was like an 8.5%, almost pastry stout, but pulled back a little bit. And that was the kind of thing that was like, guys, this is really interesting. You need to drink this. So it's both ways are sort of a way to pull people towards the message. But I think, I approach a brewery and say, let's make something together. Sometimes they have an idea, or if not, we just we hash it out.
And how did you enjoy the hands-on actual sort of brewing process? Had you had much experience previously of being like in the brewery and that kind of thing? Was this something like a new part of sort of creativity for you?
So I did one. Well, I didn't do one brew. I went and hung out with Ben from the Colonel when I was still working in a bottle shop, just to get some sort of hands-on experience. And I'm still not really a brewer. I think I'll often try and help out, but I fear I'm often a hindrance more than a help to sort of get in the way. But I think some breweries tend to lean towards collaboration brew days, just sort of being like let's hang out and have fun. And whereas I'm like, let's get me doing some stuff, please, because I want to learn. But sometimes when it's like an automated kit, I just hang around. I'm like, hello, I'm in your way. Sorry. But I do really enjoy it. It's something I want to learn more about. I'm going to try and do some sort of brewing qualification and stuff so I can, I guess, bring more to the table.
Is it something you would like to do with cider, to bring it round to cider? And if it is, who would you potentially like to work with? Who do you appreciate in cider that you think it might work with?
I've been having a chat with Albert from Russ on Wye Cider and Perico for a while about this. I think I sent him a message on Twitter like a year and a half ago or something. It's like, can we make a cider together? And he was very receptive. I think it's just been a matter of figuring out when that could work and when I could visit. Currently, obviously not now, but soon enough, I hope. But also, I think Matt at Ascension Cider, we were looking at doing something together. There's a few people I'd love to make something with. And in terms of whether or not I'd like to, I'd absolutely love to. I think it would be brilliant.
And leaning into that kind of collaborative process, you've just come off of being the first wayfinder for Cloudwater. Can you just tell us a tiny bit about that? And now, might be a bit early, but how has that affected your approach to the Queer Brewing Project?
So the Wayfinder project is something that's, I think, not really ever been done in beer anywhere before. I think it's when Paul Jones, the co-founder and managing director of Cloudwater, rang me up and just sort of ran me through what he was thinking and told me about the idea. I just sort of, it was such a refreshingly wonderful idea to open up your brewery and use that platform and those experiences and privileges and basically for 3 months give it all to someone who may come from a marginalized background or marginalized community or hasn't necessarily been made so welcome in the beer world, and basically saying, what can we do together? What do you want to do? We'll facilitate that. So it's been a really humbling experience, but I think it also has completely changed the way I'm approaching queer brewing. Over the summer, when in lockdown 1, I couldn't really go anywhere and make any collaborations or sort of really get any traction with queer brewing, I was thinking about wrapping it up. It sort of felt like, well, this has come a really nice distance. It's achieved some really good things. But I think that maybe, now's the time to just call it a day. And then Paul called me and was like, how can we take this to the next level? And I think I needed that sort of impetus, that injection of energy. So it's, changed everything, I think.
Where are you going with it? With the Queer Brewing Project? What's next for the Queer Brewing Project?
So it was initially just a sort of collaboration-based project. I think Cloudwater was the first beer we made was the 30th beer I'd made in just over 18 months.
Wow.
It's quite a lot of beers. I have. Yeah. I've been really busy. I look at, I can't remember which brewery it was, but I saw someone on Instagram who was like, oh yeah, we made 20 odd beers last year. And I was like, what? You're an actual brewery. Like, I did 25 in my first year. Have I just been, like, what have I been doing? I think I was quite stressed out for a while. But it was collaboration based only. And now in about 4 weeks, we've got our first 3 beers that are part of our core range launching. So we'll have our own beer brewed under our own banner, brewed by Cloudwater, sort of contract brewed. And it's just, so we've got that. We've got, there's now 2 of us in the project. My partner, Charlotte, has joined the team. which is great. And then we're also looking at sort of opening a tap room of sorts at some point in 2021. So it's just going to be a slightly beery gay bar, I think.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds brilliant.
Is that a name?
Slightly beery gay bar.
I think that's already taken.
You could, yeah.
I did think about just calling it gay bar, but that might alienate some of the sort of more hardline beer drinkers.
You said then on the last question about like thinking about packing it in. What would you have done? Because it seems like as an outsider looking at it and with your beer writing and everything, it seems almost like that's a full time amount of work, and you do other stuff on top of it. Like what would have happened?
I think I would have just done the other stuff on top of it, just instead of it. I had a bit of a burnout this summer for various reasons, pandemic obviously being one of them, and just it seemed like it wasn't really going anywhere. And I thought, well, I can just focus on my writing or my pottery or other things, because I think it's more a case of queer brewing then and in the past has been fit around everything else, whereas now everything else seems to be fitting around it. It's quite a big baby I've built.
I think we've spoken a bit on this podcast and in general about cider or a specific type of cider being at the start of its journey. The ciders that we generally drink, and maybe even Ross on Wye, who are maybe slightly longer established, but Albert seems to be trying to take in a different direction, and it feels like cider in general maybe is at a point where it can sort of set the story going forward, or make everyone aware of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and create an environment that's welcoming for everyone. What would you say that cider could do that beer maybe hasn't done historically to make that environment more welcoming of everyone?
Well, I think it's interesting because where cider differs to beer, at least from my point of view, is that cider hasn't historically been so attached to one gender in the way that beer has. Like beer has sort of been, quote unquote, a man's drink, whereas cider seems less burdened by that. It is interesting thinking about it as cider at the sort of start of its journey in that respect. But I think one thing that perhaps breweries don't do and haven't done and may not do for a while is just sort of be vocal about your about standing against intolerance and prejudice and everything. Most of the cider makers I know are in private sort of anti-racist, anti-transphobic, anti-homophobic, and just sort of generally anti-prejudice. But in public, because it's perhaps because it's because they speak through a business account, that doesn't really come through. And I think that it's important to be sort of very vocal and to, as you say, make everyone aware of where cider stands. So I think that's one thing that people could certainly do, is like thinking about certain breweries who have diversity and inclusion and equity statements just on their website, where it's just a page that basically says, we are anti all of these things, we are pro all of these things.
Lily, let's talk a little bit about your writing, because you do all of this other stuff, and you just so happen to manage to do this little writing gig, which earns you the title of Beer Writer of the Year from the British Guild of Beer Writers. That's no small accomplishment. And I had the pleasure and the honor, I'm not sure whether Grant or Martin know this, I was actually one of the judges. And I was a bit of an outsider because I'm the sort of the cider person, and these were all sort of very sort of beer knowledgeable people. But it was actually quite easy in the end. You really, really shone above all these people. You've got this amazing idiosyncratic style, but there was also something about maybe that it married to the year that we've had as well, and the boldness and the honesty of your writing was something that just really, really shone through. Is this something that you think that, the beer and or cider writing sort of needs more, and is sort of real honesty and real idiosyncrasy?
I think so. I don't want to say that either needs anything more like what I do, because I think there's probably enough of my shouting on the internet. God forbid there'd be more like it. But yeah, thinking about sort of honesty and openness, like I remember one of my first blog pieces was about mental health and sort of the things that I was going through, because I was inspired by beer and cider writer Pete Brown, who had written a similar piece a couple of months previously. And the very first piece I wrote for my very first published piece was a look at the beer industry from my perspective, from the perspective of a queer trans woman. And then earlier this year, because I'd seen very little action as a response to it, so it was a piece that called the industry out and said, we need to do more of this and we need to do X, Y, and Z. Like, here are some actionable things that we could do. And I'd seen fuck all, sort of, really. So I wrote a piece sort of explaining that with some other things in there. But I think it's certainly one way of approaching difficult to consume topics, I think, like talking about transphobia, when it ostensibly doesn't really apply to the beer or cider or wine or any other industries. It still does, because there will be trans people in those industries, and you can show support for trans people just by doing simple things. So I think that sharing honest accounts of how that impacts me will help people understand, and I hope signposts people to ways they can do more. And I think that there are writers who sort of do this in beer quite well. I don't know of many in the cider writing community, which is, I know, still small and growing. But maybe I could write about how I feel, but just with a cider perspective.
Yeah, we had that with it's Adam, isn't it? At Malt,
yes,
where he posted about imposter syndrome, and we spoke about it. And I said it's irrelevant of cider, beer, wine, or whatever it is. That was an article that like just spoke to so many people that I know, and I feel that your writing definitely does that as well. Where it's the identity and your identity in the writing is there, but also it's like it's a viewpoint, and the way you write is so stunning as well. To read it, you get to the end. I was saying to the Pellicle boys, I was like, "Fucking hell!" You get to the end, it's fucking gorgeous.
That's very kind.
But how do you feel that your writing style has developed from those early blog days to being Beer Writer of the Year?
I think it's certainly got better, or less shit.
Understatement. Yes.
Is that a compliment?
No. I meant, sorry.
It was really shit at the beginning.
That came out not very well.
Understatement.
What I meant was, if you're now the beer writer of the year, then obviously you're doing your craft quite well. I'm now going to go and hide in the corner. Thank you. Bye.
Gabe pulls out a little most improved sticker and hands it to me through the screen.
That's from my mum. I got the gold stars from here in the Cider Writers Guild as well. Don't worry. There's.
Oh my god!
You're in a good club.
I think I've benefited from having brilliant editors. So Matt Curtis and Claire Bullen are my two sort of the editors I work with the most, and they both have very different styles. And Matt is incredibly challenging. So there are times when I read his notes, I'm like, well, fuck you, no, that doesn't need to change. And I think he's been instrumental to my improvement, because he edited that first piece that I wrote for Good Beer Hunting. I sent him that pitch and he sort of coached me through it, because I'd never really written anything professionally before. But I think there's still the same approach, which is slightly poetic, very willing to be open and honest and raw and vulnerable. Because like, as with Adam's piece, I like writing about things that anyone can resonate with and can sort of, I don't know, we like writing about mental health and things like that. I hope that even if one person gets something from it, then it's of use. So I really like approaching writing that way. But I think in terms of how it's changed, it's just got better. Or less shit.
Less shit. Well, with the you were saying then about that like raw, poetic and vulnerable writing, and that comes through. It sounds silly, but do those kind of editorial kind of notes feel like they're attacking that raw and personal element, or do you see it like, all right, this is a piece that I'm putting out there? Like, as a writer, how do you sort of approach putting it to paper?
I think it's just sort of, I write it in a state of flow. So I don't think I have much of an approach. It's just, I write words and they come out. And sometimes it's really quite emotional. And so with the piece I wrote this summer called Buckled Knuckles, which was about looking back at that first piece I wrote, Claire was my editor for that. And I think she took great care to be very sensitive, because it was a topic she didn't have experience in or know much about. And she could tell that it was written in a place of sort of, I guess, honestly, pain and suffering, because I was in a pretty bad way when I wrote it. So she was, it was a really interesting experience to present something so vulnerable to an editor and have them edit it in a way that didn't in any way attack what I was talking about, because I think that would have been difficult, and I think it would have ended up in a worse piece.
Yeah. Well, it just seems like, going back to the start, it was a list of things that you do, and on top of brewing and writing, you also an artist, creator. Like, how how does ceramics fit in your life? Like, how did that happen? Where did that come from?
It just, I guess, fits in around everything else. I started about 2 years ago. 24th of November, I went for a 2.5-hour sort of taster course for my birthday and just fell in love. And then a few months later, I started an evening course in Peckham, where I just sort of made stuff for 3 hours a week. And it was pretty shit to begin with. And then it's just sort of through practice, slowly got better. And then I became a member at a studio and just dedicated as much time as I could to it. And it got to the point where I haven't written anything since maybe September, because the last 3 months have just been taken up with sort of Christmas pottery orders and everything. And
amazing.
The Wayfinder project. So yeah, I sold, I think, about 200 pieces in the run up to Christmas.
Wow, that's incredible.
What?
I had 3 days off in 2 months. I was.
Have you got like Bernard's watch or something?
What a throwback that is.
That question was one of the written questions as well. Have you got Bernard's watch?
Yeah, have you got? Tell us about Bernard's watch.
That was a great show.
Yeah, well, what a show that was, right?
Lily, tell us about your interest in cider, or whether did you have any association with cider sort of in your youth? You're from cider country, aren't you, originally? So were there any
borderlands of, I believe,
borderlands?
Gloucestershire. It's not.
Yeah, no, that was old school. There was as much heritage in Gloucestershire. You're Tewkesbury, right?
Near enough, yeah.
Near enough. And so lots of orchards all around there, long-standing. So proper cider country. So was there anything that sort of took your interest when you were younger, or is it something that you sort of come to more latterly?
I used to drink cider when I was sort of 16, 17, in the park with
Bravo
2.5 litre bottles of Crumpton Oaks.
Nice.
When we go to festivals, we'd tape a bottle each to each hand, and just sort of that would be our deal for the day. 5 litres of Crumpton Oaks.
Just getting warmer and warmer.
Warmer and warmer and
flatter.
more diluted. And yeah, it was. We used to shout "Pump the Crump" as we drank Crumpton Oaks. I even remember having it on Cheerios once.
Oh, you fucking
Heathen.
I was like 16. What do you expect?
True.
But I do have a memory of the Montpellier Food and Drink Festival in Cheltenham, which is where I grew up in a small village in the country, and I moved into Cheltenham when I was like 16. But I remember having a taster of Watkins Stoke Red with my dad in the beer tent, and just sort of being blown away by it. And then when I worked in pubs, I sort of had an interest in Stowford Press and Henry Weston's and Mortimer's Orchard and all of that sort of reasonably tasty cider. But it wasn't until, I think, relatively recently, in the past sort of 4 years that I've got into cider in a bigger way.
And are there any sort of particular producers, like seminal producers or products that sort of really a bit of a light bulb moment that sort of, showcase just how awesome cider can be?
I don't actually remember the seminal ciders or the first ones or the producers. I do remember a bottle of Starve Crow
Yes.
when I was working at 7,000 Jars of Beer. I remember picking that up and sort of just drinking that and thinking, fuck me, this is delicious. It was it was just, stunning. And I think, Tom Oliver was probably one of the more influential makers before I got turned on to other producers.
Yeah, he is widely name checked, including by Martin and Grant here as well, and for myself too. He's just one of those people that crops up in every single conversation because of the quality of the liquid, but just also what he does and what he kind of stands for. What are you drinking tonight, out of interest?
I'm drinking a Ross. I think it's Michelin and Somerset Red Streak. We were there in September, and I picked up a bag-in-box, which I'm just happily working my way through.
Oh, that's the way to go, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Are there any other cider makers that you have not had the opportunity to sort of visit, but who are kind of on your radar, or who sort of excite you in terms of the liquid or what they do and how they do it?
Wilding Cider is someone who's sort of really been interesting me, I think, for the past year or so. I'd love to go and visit and sort of check them out, but their Stoke Red is probably my cider of the year, I think. It's just so endlessly drinkable. It has this sort of beautiful complexity at the same time. When I went out to see Ross on Y, a few others who were there peeled off to go and see Artist Draw. And I think I that evening tasted something from them that was exquisite. It was a bit of a hazy blur the evening, but I've been told brilliant things about Artist Draw. So there's someone who I'd love to go and see as well, or even get a bottle of.
Well, they're a very, very small producer, Artist Draw, sort of on the borders of Herefordshire and Wales. I think they might even just be on the Welsh side. I can't remember exactly which side of the border, but less than 7,000 litres a year, all wild ferment. Some pretty impressive stuff. Also,
they're really into the environmental impact and stuff as well. And they not like melt down like peanut chip stuff to make glue to stick their labels on or something crazy like that. Like they sort of do everything at their cidery. I might have just made that up, but
no, that's going on their website now.
As I was saying that, I was like, fucking mental.
That's such a bold claim. Like they even blow the glass bottles themselves, and they hammer the caps out of bits of sheet aluminium. It's brilliant.
Oh no!
No, it's true, right? Whatever.
It's true if you say it's true.
Mate,
just the way it works.
Well, bringing it as far away from just false claims that we can get sued for as possible. Lily, if you were to, talk to yourself at the start of your journey as a producer, general everything, it seems like you've embodied the word craft when reading out your CV, but like, what would you say to you at the start of your journey and to everyone else beginning their journey in drink?
I think it feels awkward and perhaps a bit pompous to say this even, but sort of, you deserve to be here. You deserve to be taking up the space that you're inhabiting. I think for a long time I felt like a lot of imposter syndrome and especially being, I guess, different to the majority of the drinks industry. Be loud, take up as much space as you can. I guess the other thing as well is just sort of to keep in mind that being yourself is enough. I think so many times I've thought that I need to be a sort of a figurehead for something, or I need to be someone for someone else. And I think sometimes it's just important to remember that just by being yourself and by being visible, if that's what you choose to do, that will have a big impact on someone else. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, bud.
Well said.
Yes. So glad you decided to say that.
Well, I think it's something that it came up a lot with queer brewing recently. and feeling like I've got to change the industry, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that, because for better or worse, a lot of people do look to me to be something in this industry. And I think sometimes it can feel like a lot of responsibility, and I need to be something, but I just got to remember that even just making nice beer is enough, because it's queer brewing. It is that recognition in someone else, as you said, Martin, just seeing queer up on the board.
Well, like the idea of changing the narrative, for a lot of people that sort of go out and they lead the whole thing, it can seem like, say, daunting, and it's like you have to do all of this. But again, just one word's enough. And if it means queer on a bar, and someone who identifies like that can pick up a drink and go, "That's me," then fucking you've done your job.
Yeah, exactly. And if it changes one person, then it's brilliant. And that's why it's so interesting and exciting to see Helen sort of to gain momentum and start kicking off in that way. Because I'm like, I was doing that. I see that. I recognize that. So I'm sort of trying to be there for them as much as possible as well. It's it can be an interesting process. But yeah, they're brilliant.
Well, you used the word earlier on, agitator, and that's actually quite an interesting word. Dick Withercombe, good old Dick, and Dick and Kath from Manchester Cider Buzz, he calls himself a cage rattler, and it is, and to an extent, in whether in the same language or in such vocal terms, you're part of a band and a brigade of progressive people who are just trying to change the narrative around the drinks that we hold dear and the industries that we kind of work in. So we salute you for that, and continue, please, to agitate away on everyone's behalf, because you're very, very good. You're very, very good at doing it, and keep making great drinks. And please do keep writing about cider. And we very much look forward to the cider to come out of the creative hub that is Lily Waite. So, Lily, thank you so much for joining us here at the Neutral Cider Hotel. I hope you've enjoyed your time here in the saloon, in the snug here. There's nobody else here at the hotel. It's in COVID time, so we've got the whole place to ourselves. So hope you've had fun.
Yes, it's been great. Thank you.
And we very much look forward to speaking to you soon. So thank you very much.
Yes, take care. Speak soon.
Thank you so much again, Lily, for joining us. And for anybody who wants to learn a little bit more about all of Lily's multiple different activities and work streams and sources of creativity, make sure you check out @LilyWaite_ on both Instagram and Twitter. And for her fantastic article about Ross on Wye Cider and Perry Company, go to pelliclemag.com. Oh, and also, of course, the amazing ceramics, www.lilywaiteceramics.com as well.
And queerbrewingproject.com as well.
And queerbrewingproject.com as well.
And bernardswatch.co.uk.
And Bernard's Watch. Okay, now.
And so now at the Neutral Cider Hotel, we are tasting cider. And not only are we tasting cider, we are tasting a triumvirate of ciders. Yes, I get to say my favourite word again, because I'm so cool AF.
No.
Yes, done. Can't edit it out. Lala. We are tasting, I think almost slightly a little bit long overdue, to taste ciders from one of the producers in the UK that has made a really significant mark over the course of the last 3 years, probably, I suppose I'd say. There's Find and Foster, who amazing, lovely husband and wife team, Matt and Polly Hilton, are based down in Devon, not too far from Exeter. And they are all about utilising them, making these wonderful fine ciders out of fruit from these lost orchards, and they're really endeavouring to uphold excellent sustainable practices and to conserve the heritage and tradition of these old orchards, and their minimal intervention, and they just have made some of the most exquisite drinks. And we didn't want to just focus on one, so we've got one each to taste with. So yeah, I'm on the Snicket for anybody who's interested, which is one of their pet nat ciders. But they also do some method traditionnel as well. What else are we trying from them?
I am on the 7, which is 2018 Method Traditionnel, 7.6%.
I am on Pendragon, which is a skin contact pet nat cider pressed with medium to high acidity apples and fermented on Pendragon apple skins with just native yeasts and 0 sulfite added.
Right, let's get pouring and tasting.
Here's hoping it doesn't gush. Oh no!
Oh yes, you
Oh yes, Martin!
I haven't opened mine yet. Jeez, I have a bucket every week now next to my chair.
For everybody at home, Martin is showing the bottle up to the screen. And it's got a.
Oh no, Martin's not showing it like for artistic reasons.
No, it's got a slightly angry-looking head on top of the bottle. Well, I'll. Holy.
Fucking. Just a little bit, but yeah, it went.
The bucket came in handy.
Amazing.
Yes, absolutely. I don't need to go and get the mop this time.
So, so the Snicket for me, a 6% alcohol, vintage 2019, pet nat, juicy, ripe, and fruity is the description. It's got a lovely light haze on it, golden color. Oh, it's just so intense on the nose. It's just so fruity. A little bit in a really pleasant way of the sort of slight cheese rind. There's some real intense and great acidity. What Fine and Foster seem to do through a considerable portion, if not maybe all of their ciders, is that in these traditional orchards that they're picking down in these wonderful little valleys in South Devon, is there's quite a lot of apples with some decent acidity in there as well, which isn't necessarily always the case from some of the more classic ciders from Somerset or up in Herefordshire, where there's often a greater focus on, if not just pure bittersweet apples, the high tannin, low acidity kinds of apple varieties, but certainly a predominance of those. I really like these ciders because you get the grippiness and the earthiness of some of the tannin. But there's this wonderful zinginess and crispness and sort of electricity and I was going to say kapow in there. Oh, I did just say kapow.
I was going to say kapow, but I won't now.
Yeah, just since they first been making ciders, which is for a whole, probably 5 years or something like that. There's one of those cider makers who just get an understanding of what it is that they want to do, and they just execute it. And cheers to them. This is great.
Yeah. Well, I've got the sister to yours, I believe. So Snicket and Pendragon made in the same way, but with different varieties, and Pendragon being the variety they've used. And when I first drank it, it was in the summer, and I was asking Polly and Matt what brought them to come to that sort of method and approach. And they said they've been talking about sort of transferring techniques in wine like carbonic maceration. Do you want to horse that one, Gabe, and explain carbonic maceration? I caught you off guard drinking. You were like, fucking...
The horse was lying down. Carbonic maceration it's not a process that I know massively well, but I do believe it's whereby macerating is whereby you've chopped up the fruit and you don't press it off straight away. You sort of allow it to sit. But if you put it in an enclosed environment, and you can either sort of pump in a bit of CO2 in there or just allow the incipient fermentation to sort of kick off, but don't allowing the CO2 to escape, it provides an environment where the sort of like a blanket that sort of protects the pulp whilst it's undergoing its sort of early phase of fermentation and some of these sort of chemical changes, and just creates quite an interesting environment for extracting intensity of flavors. I remember a friend of mine doing it with wine in New Zealand on some Gewürztraminer on a really aromatic, high intense kind of grape, just to sort of maximize and squeeze as much flavor out of it as possible.
But they were talking about like techniques like that, and the skin contact, which is what's used here, where they've taken varieties and put them in the juice as well. And they were talking about the stunning aromas of apples in the orchard, and kind of you can lose a lot of that through fermentation. Obviously, it changes the juice and you bring out different things. But if you're walking through the orchard and you can smell these like intense aromatics straight off the apple, they were saying like, we just wanted to fucking like trap that in a bottle. And when separating out specific varieties, they thought these ones would be great to extract some of that aromatic compound. So Pendragon is exactly that. And again, another me on the inside. They brought down. I did an event for cider makers, which was kind of like a after the harvest. Don't just drink at home. Like come to the pub and bring some cider and just hang out there. And Polly actually popped down with a bottle of this while it was young, still fermenting. Had like I think it was about 2-3% alcohol, so lots of residual sugar. And it just smelt like fucking apricot jam. It was like, what the fuck is this? Like, and compared to their other ones, which are light, delicate, same as the Nempnet Frubwell from Wilding, where you get these pockets and these little characters. This was just like slap in the face character. And now it's a dry fermentation, a dry fermented product. You've got that big carbonation. It lifts up like notes of that. But it's more apricot rather than that jammy, sticky character. And there's acidity, bitterness, carbonation all working in tandem. And again, it's got, like you've got there, Gabe, that little cheese rind, that kind of savory ferment character. But all on the end, it's just beautiful, gorgeous green apple and like dried apricots. And yeah, this is one that in the summer I was just pounding. Like I had so many.
Yeah, Pendragon was definitely one of my favorite ciders. I think I tried this year. It was pretty awesome. But Grant, you got one that I haven't tried. The 7, I think you said
7, yeah. Which looking it up is named after it was from their 7th tank. So this is method traditional. It's an orchard blend. So there's no indication, I don't think, of what's of the varieties that are in it. But I guess the method traditional, given it that real heavy mousse, carbonation's pretty extreme in this one. But beautiful golden color. On the nose, it's very much like a sort of wet orchard, really. It's got fruitiness, it's got a bit of bark, a bit of dampness to it, a bit more kind of maybe barnyard from what you guys were saying. It still has that acidity and brightness, but there's definitely a bit more.
It sounds like you just got a bit more sort of earthy robustness. A
bit more earthy dampness to it.
Also, props to you, Mr. Man with a fucking cold.
Yeah.
Coming out with a full I thought you'd go, yeah. I'm going to be honest, but you went, no, I'm going to fucking dive in. So, well played.
It's because he's professional, Martin. He's a professional.
Well, I timed my lemsip well, I think.
I'm getting notes of paracetamol and...
but no, I'm getting a lot from it. But... maybe a bit of vanilla, but just loads going on. And again, I think we'd spoken about this before. The carbonation with, West Country ciders not always marrying perfectly, but and I think you'd said this, Gabe, as well. But they Finding Foster always seemed to get that level of acidity just right.
Mm.
I the first time I tried Finding Foster, I'll be honest, wasn't a massive fan. I just think maybe that's on me, and that I wasn't quite sure what it was.
Yeah.
And the more I've tried now, I'm like, okay, so it's this is what it is, and this is what they're doing, and they've got a lot of variety within what they make as well. And I think maybe also initially I just tried a couple of their method traditionels and didn't, see anything wildly different. But now, with Pendragon and the Huxham as well, which
fucking adore Huxham.
Was I think was my turning point with Fine and Foster. I was like, oh right, okay. It shows, alongside all the rest, shows this level of breadth and skill that I think, for me, cider makers need to showcase what they do, and to showcase the fruit that they're using.
It's also, it sounds silly, it's hard to kind of recognize nuance and subtlety in technique. So it doesn't matter if it's food, drink, music, film, anything. Like, the things that pop out to you and get you excited usually when you're at the start of a journey are the things that are like quite bold and brash. So I was lucky that I'd been drinking cider knobbishly, critically, for a little while, so that when it got to that, I wasn't like, oh, this is boring. So I was like, oh, this is fucking, I was like, this is astounding. Yeah. But if I'd had it a year before, I'd have been like, rubbish.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I so wish I'd had it, because I feel like I missed out on a whole year. And they've not been around long, so it's not that big a deal. But I do feel like I kind of dismissed them too quickly, and as I say, it was down to me and my sort of level of inexperience and just like you said, Martin, if I'd been at your knobbish stage, I might have been all right.
Well, yeah, it's the difference between beer shit and cider shit. But we've leaned on this before, and I was in a bottle shop. I was running a bottle shop at the time and buying cider for a couple sites. And Fine and Foster were definitely the priciest bottle we had by a country mile. But because I loved it and I kind of knew how to sell it because I was dialed into it, it became kind of an easy sell. But if you're not there and you're going, why is this 18 quid? It just tastes like really delicate apples. Like, it's a hard thing for you, if you don't know or understand or believe it, to sell to your customers, really. And again, I was just like, right place, right time. Felix of Fine Cider was like, Martin, try these. I know what you like. Try this. I was like, fucking hell. Like, absolute banger.
Yeah, I think that pretty much nails it. That there's so much delicacy and elegance that goes into these ciders. As talking about, if drunk earlier on, then that could be overlooked. And with the little bit of knowledge and insight that we've managed to accrue over the last bit of time to understand the care and the attention that's gone into making these drinks, they are really, really spectacular. And would urge anybody out there who, if they ever come across Fine and Foster, to give it a try and not be scared off by what could be perceived to be quite a high price point, and it's fair enough, but give it a go. Treat it with the reverence that you would do with the best wine made in the UK, and you wouldn't go wrong. We are singing all of their praises. Is there anything that we don't like about these ciders, or?
Well, you said they're an attractive couple.
They are an attractive.
Resent them for their lifestyle.
Gorgeous.
No, I fucking do. I do. I look at them and I feel no, I'm taking the piss. I think the price is definitely a point, and I know they've got a little outreach change on it and the use of different glasses there, but the labels being one thing is a hard differentiator. So on a shelf, if you've got the same exact artwork with that tiny little strip, and if it is named after a variety, if you're not really, really, really into cider and you see like, is Huxham the place? Is it the apple? Is that the same as, have I already had that one? It's quite a big ask of people to have that full memory of their kind of drink. So I would say, I hope that going forward they would experiment with the labeling a bit. I know they're only small, so it's like a completely massive task to do that. And I believe Polly actually did the artwork for this, which is gorgeous. But
no way.
Just some differentiation between each bottling, I think would the lack thereof is a con for me.
I'm telling you, they're brilliant cider makers. They're artists. They built their own boat and sailed it through the Canal du Midi all across France to the Mediterranean. I mean, what chance do us mere mortals have? Come on.
It's a fucking joke, isn't it? It's an absolute fucking joke.
Amazing. And they're really nice as well. We can't even like genuinely dislike them because they're just nice.
Go on, Grant. What, dislike them.
Yeah, what are your cons, Grant?
Yeah. I was going to say the same as you, Martin, about the labels. That's kind of it for me. Really is. Yeah, it'd be good because even I am like obviously you need to pick it up and look at it and be like, have I had that one? I'm not sure, and I quite like the handwritten bit of it, and obviously it's quite clearly a cost thing. Of keeping costs down by printing one label, but yeah, it would be nice to see a bit more kind of information on there in relation to each bottle. But other than that, keep doing what you're doing.
Well, joining on what you're saying then, again, like because they've got in their range the Saison Pomme, which visually is completely different. So when they first showed it to me, I thought it was like they were doing a completely new line or like they were doing something massively crazy different. Like it was in the same way that like Do It Puritan labeling is so stark for Little Pomona. It was like, and Pilton's core range to his specials. And there's only one of them. So it's like, oh, so you've got 7 identical labels and then one completely different one.
I thought it was a beer collab.
Yeah. I thought it was actually Saison when I first saw it because of that. And listeners at home, Grant has pointed out, it ain't.
Sorry, is that what you were just going to say? Sorry.
No. I was like, you summed up that point quick. You got there quicker and nicer, so thanks.
Cool. And moving on.
It is a great demonstration of just how important taking people along the journey by speaking to them, communicating to them through that packaging. It's anybody who goes into let's say Martin's bar has the opportunity of having a Martin on hand to tell you everything that there is to know. If Martin sadly isn't there in the supermarket with you or in the bottle shop whilst you're trying to make your purchase, or online as it might well be today, the packaging really needs to sort of speak and evoke exactly what it is all about it. Anyway, what can we say? Fine and Foster, great cider makers, great people, and we're not talking just about a singular product here. We're talking about their overarching attitude and approach. A really strong, integral, and important part of the fine cider movement, or just cider full stop, and just making some absolutely amazing drinks. And Martin's just, I echo his sniff moment he had just then. I'm not sure whether you heard that over the microphone.
I was like, Derrida light there. I was like,
yeah, but there was.
But that's actually what, aromatically, it's got that similar kind of. It wouldn't be amiss to have jingly jangling acid on the side of this bottle. I don't think.
There we go.
Definitely some seashells in there.
I think mine's a little bit salty. I think there's definitely a little bit of salinity in there. So
a bit of the sour cream cheese bagel with salmon in there.
Less of the salmon on this occasion, as it happens. So there we go. As you can tell, we're all big fans of Fine and Foster's ciders. Great people, exceptional skill, really good cider makers, and across a range of different products, not just a singular one. There's a lot that goes into everything that they do. If you want to find out more, head to findandfosterfineciders.com. Get some ciders, try for yourself. Anyway, now it's on to Grant's game. Here we go, people. This is the moment you've all been waiting for, obviously, for a very long time. It's our game from Grant. Grant, what are we doing? This is very exciting.
It is very, very, very exciting. I called it Grant's game because I'm
very exciting name.
So inventive. But there are other options for the name Grant's game. You could also say egg mantras. You could say German stag. You could say men ragtags, or you could say Grant's mega. Because that's right.
Grant,
For
you've
one night
always
only,
been mega.
the anagram is back.
Yes.
So what we're doing, I know Gabe's super excited about that.
Yes.
What we're going to do is I am going to read out an anagram, and they are all apple varieties.
Ooh, okay.
You're going to
Consider me oracled there until.
So
Bring it on, cider shit. Or shit cider. Anagram.
Are we ready?
Yes. Anagram
Cool.
game. Yes. Come on.
Right. So I'm gonna have, you've got a timer as well. So the first one is Ark detests remorse. All right.
Okay.
How are we?
Easy.
Easy. Okay.
Can you not see that?
Right. I'm going to go to Gabe first.
Okay.
I don't know. No.
You don't know?
No, I haven't got it. No.
Oh.
Oh,
wow.
dear. So I'm going to go to Martin.
I put Dorset remorse arc because I had no fucking idea. You can't.
This game's going to be rubbish then.
Yeah, mate. There's not enough time to take it all in.
There's not. Okay, sorry.
I was
That's
just trying to think of how many apples there are that with the letter K that isn't Kingston Black or Arkansas Black or
Somerset
Red Streak. Somerset Red Streak. There
Somerset
you go.
Red Streak. Yay, well done to neither of you.
Sorry.
This is payback for all the games that you've lost, isn't it, Grant? Just fucking ride it into the ground.
I'm worried I might have gone a little bit hard now, so this might be a nil.
Don't worry. Don't worry. No.
I've got a decider, so it's fine. If a decider that you will both get, and it'll be a case of who gets it quickest. So someone will win. So the next one. Are we ready?
Okay. Taking you down, Martin.
I was
Take
about
you
to say,
down to
ready?
Chinatown.
Are you ready to lose, Gabe? That's my fight talk.
Okay. So this one is BLT remit tester.
Ah, easy.
Okay.
I said easy, and I realise I've just added letters that aren't there.
Martin, you're such a BLT remit tester. What can we say?
Right. I'm gonna go to Martin this time first.
Well, I know there's a word in there. I put, just in a quick rush, Tremlitz bitter. And as you'll notice, there's no L.
Well,
there is.
You'll actually, as you'll notice, you're correct.
There's a BLT.
BLT, you dog.
It's small here, so I've been looking at BIT. I was like, well, I'm well happy I got it right.
What
Ron.
I said.
Yeah, but honestly, Grant, it's pretty daunting coming into this game.
Is it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm fucking on edge.
Gabe, you
No,
have to, no,
I didn't get it. I didn't get it, Martin.
the apple guy.
Fuck yeah! I doubted myself.
You did.
Fucking BLT. You. Oh god. Okay, good.
So 1-0 to Martin.
Look how excited he is.
I don't know what to do.
It's like looking in a mirror.
Yeah. Fucking what is happening?
All right, I'm confident. Next one, I got this. I thought I'd be better at this, but
I thought you would as well, Gabe. I was actually thinking I'm going to have to try and make these more difficult, otherwise Gabe's just going to run away with it. Okay, so next one. Well, do you want me to give you how many words it is, or
No.
It's
Just as it is.
straight in.
Like,
Ready.
don't change it. Yeah.
Yeah, don't change it. We got
so this one is
Come on.
decagram kills. Okay, I'm going to tell you now. It's a lesser used one as far as I'm aware. It's one of the sillier named ones. You'll know it. You'll know it when I say it.
I didn't get anything.
I'm assuming neither of you by your faces.
I'm really sorry. I am trying. It's not. I'm being deliberately obtuse or thick.
This is a 3-worder. If that helps.
Oh, it's slack my girdle, isn't it?
See?
Damn it.
Have you not read Ciderology by Gabe Cook, Martin?
No,
Ciderology by Gabe Cook. It is in there. It's in there somewhere. Yeah.
And Gabe always I put it in there. Gabe always says it in his one of his silly voices. It's quite funny.
Slack my girdle.
Decagram kills.
So I tell you what, Gabe, you can get a half.
That's very kind of you.
I just said three words.
Gabe, no. You get a half game because it's in your book. How is this a fucking game?
Oh, okay, man. Competitive much?
Well, I'm winning. I'm just so confused. I'm just genuinely looking at it like, okay.
How many questions are left? Like, I saw them out. Like,
two more,
more.
Then if we need a decider.
Okay.
So here we go. We have tasted this one.
Okay.
There's a clue for you. We have tasted this one.
All right.
And this one is logicized nodule.
No.
Does anyone have it? Gabe, you're still. Are you almost there? Have you written it down? That's what Richard Whiteley would ask, isn't it?
It is. God rest his soul.
Oh, he's gone. Have you got it?
I've got a word.
Okay, you've got a word.
Yes,
Martin.
And I know there's two in there.
Martin,
I put what did I put? London.
Okay, no. Gabe,
I've got golden, and then russet doesn't appear to be in there, but it's golden something. But I can't think what it is.
Golden Delicious.
Are you kidding?
Golden Delicious. Ah!
Mate, this game is like intensely
It's not as hard. It's not as hard as you going, what did I write about last year when I wrote this?
Yep, when I was in London.
Well, fucking whatever.
Oh.
Oh, Christ. Right, sorry for trying.
I'm not
right, next one.
Don't be sorry that you're trying. Just really try harder next time.
Okay. This one.
Come on.
This one's nigh on impossible. So good.
Okay.
All right, come on.
We'll get it. I'm on it. Come on.
So Martin, you're on 1. Gabe, you're on a half. So whoever gets this wins, probably. So ready? Gunter Somerset.
Gunter Somerset.
Bit of a red herring with Somerset, but
is Somerset not in the title?
No.
Oh shit! Is
well,
it not?
I mean, if you come up with it,
Is it not Somerset Ret Nug?
No, but you have mentioned one of these words in one of your other guesses, but
I've put russet, but then tried to create a word out of the others quickly, and I couldn't see it, so I put russet.
Right. So now that you obviously have got it, but that should have been quite easy if you got russet.
Yeah, but it's also hopefully how else to put this? It's kind of like a dyslexic nightmare of like quickly getting words scrambled together.
But for you, just to reference back, okay, like what cider makers have used apples that end in russet, and how many apples have been made from varieties that end in russet that I have drank this year and in previous years. None still coming to mind.
Egremont russet, is
For
it?
fuck, yes, of course it is.
Yeah, but in the panic.
Oh,
You bastard.
Oh. Sorry,
All
I didn't do that properly, did I?
If I'm being completely honest, which I have to be because I'm British and I'm very kind, I only got that because he said russet, so it doesn't really count.
Well, you get a
so that's not
half point.
Get a half a point, and then maybe
That means
it
it's a
takes
draw.
it to the tiebreaker.
Come on.
So the game goes on even longer, Martin.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
This is really really easy. It's really easy. So, but I don't know about delays on feeds and things. So you're gonna have to
Just do it.
like
We'll argue it. It's fine.
yeah.
So shall we just say our name? No, if we
Say your
both if
name.
we say either of our names, because if we both go, bah.
Say your name. Say
You
your
there.
name. Say your name.
when no one is around you and you're struggling at a game causing you pain.
Say, Gaby, I love you. That's what it was.
Gabriel. Wait, so you have to say your whole name though. Gabriel William Mantish the third.
First.
The first of his name.
Exactly.
Ready?
Gabe.
Ready, Martin?
Yeah.
I'm not going to write it in the thing. Just going to say it. Flex swap.
Foxwell, Martin.
Oh, Gabe. Go.
And we have a winner. We have.
If only
a
our names
winner.
were Foxwell.
Yeah.
If I have a son, I'm going to call him Foxwell. Yeah.
Do you know Sula's got a cuddly toy called Foxwhelp?
Oh, there we go. There we go. Martin, you are a most deserving winner of Grant's game. Thank you for you got that. You were real quick. What was the anagram?
Flex swap.
Flex swap.
So we have a winner, Martin. Well
Yeah.
done.
Ugh.
That was tough as well. That wasn't like
sorry, I didn't think it was going to be that tough. Like, I thought there was a couple of tough ones in there. I mean, the fact that you got russet and didn't get egremont.
And I got golden and didn't get delicious.
You got golden and didn't get delicious when we've tasted golden delicious in like episode 2.
As producer Scott said in the little notes we've got on the screen, this is what happens if you don't eat apples, and that's a fair shout. So
I'm always eating egremont russets, and that's the real shame here.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Mate, I feel that the perhaps a harsh winter in Scotland has hardened you, and you felt that you had to bring some real torture to the game. Like that was tough, man. What
I didn't think
the
it was going
hell?
to be that tough. Like,
Got to keep us on our toes.
I don't know. I'm going to lay the blame on you, I'm afraid, because you got so close that you could have had 2 each. Turns out you're pathetic.
Scott, at some stage, you'll have to do us an update on what is the overall tally of all the games that we have played thus far. Who sits where in the pantheon of legends.
Well, it's over to one of you to make a more interesting, less difficult game, which might not be hard.
Well, I will give a little spoiler here. I believe the Founding Fathers of America have actually said more on Apple since we last spoke.
No.
I can't believe you had a Founding Fathers quiz that was easier than an anagram Apple variety quiz.
Oh God! All right, I'll make a game next, lads. And I'm guessing Grant's going to win it because it probably will be a re-record.
Controversial speak there, but not without its entire merit. So, Grant, thank you very much for putting that game together. Martin, congratulations, a deserving winner, and we look forward to the next game. Martin, I think you on it. Looking forward to that. See what you've got. I'm
gonna
what you
take
got.
what we've just played then and make it a workable product. No, I've got a different game. Don't worry.
Maybe what we should do is get producer Scott to come up with a game so that we can all participate, and then that will be, game of games.
Stakes, isn't it?
Yeah. Winner takes all. We've probably won 2 each and lost 19 each or whatever. It's like this will be end of day and end of days type thing. So. Sorry, had a little bit of a frog in the throat there. So there we go. Well, everybody, this is Neutral Cider Hotel. Thank you all very much for listening in. As per usual, make sure that you tell everybody about the 35th best food and drink
flirty theft of
podcast in Poland.
The flirty theft of knives and gummy sweets from Middlesbrough.
Please make sure that you subscribe, rate and review on Apple Podcasts, follow on Spotify, and listen via any other podcast app that you choose. Make sure you do follow on Instagram, Neutral Cider Hotel, Twitter, Neutral Cider Pod, and website, neutralciderhotel.com. Friends, thank you very much for having another joyous session here in the hotel. Let's lock up shop, shall we, and head home.